Higgins and his wife Cindy.
Very welcome to this event, a joint event. My name is Richard Ryan. I'm chairman of the Federation of Local History Societies, and we're here with our sister organisation, the Federation for Ulster Local Studies, to launch our joint project entitled Hidden Gems and Forgotten People. The purpose of this project is to draw attention to and to celebrate some of the lesser known but interesting places and buildings in our island, and also to celebrate the very many interesting and sometimes very inspiring people who are not well known outside their own localities, but whose stories are untold and very often forgotten outside those localities. The details of these places and these individuals are put up on a special website which we've set up called hiddengems.eu, and are thus preserved, we hope, for posterity. Because of President Higgins' strong interest in the promotion and development of Irish culture in the broadest sense, we decided that he was the appropriate person to officially launch our project, and we are very grateful that he accepted our invitation to do so. I would now like to ask President Michael D. Higgins to officially launch the Hidden Gems and Forgotten People project.
Well, I didn't call a Turkey in office Sarah Fanshaw, August, it's pleasure in your Laura North Shulton Haven. I'm always delighted to be here in the National Library. August Milam a week as a Colonel the Fractaf. August the Conan come and stare at you. I want to just say thank you to both organisations that celebrate local history, and thank you for the invitation. It gives Sabine and I great pleasure to be with you today. to launch the wonderful James Forgotten People project. And I was really, I will come back. I hope to have some time to look at these gems that are here. But it's a wonderful collaboration between the Federation for Ulster Local Studies and the Federation of Local History Societies. I had a conversation in the last 2 weeks in Enniskillen about local history and its importance. Your two federations, made up as they are of over 200 local societies, constitute an incredible national network that does very valuable work in organising local events, lectures, visits, as well as joint activities, not just here in Ireland but in the United Kingdom as well. Connecting communities to their local areas, keeping alive the knowledge of special places, and preserving the memory of the people that have made your communities what they are, is a very important contribution to rootedness and to the diversity of communities. It's amazing when you go into the localities or these particular pieces that have been chosen for display here. If you went down to Ballycar, where I'm from myself, and you asked people, did you know what's over there in Liddy's farm, and so on, and being the kind of people they are, they wouldn't tell you immediately, and they would punctuate it with phrases like, and I bet you didn't know that either, which was, if you could put up with that, which is well worth it, I assure you, there is just a great richness to be encountered in it all. I also think it's very interesting in different places how the natural and, if you like, the human imprint interact with each other. There's something like the bull on stone, which was used for grinding and so forth. They actually conquer time and space in a particular way. It's no exaggeration, I think, to say that the connection of place to place and the connection to the past in all these manifestations and these collective memories, they're elements that feed into the quality of our lives and for the well-being of our society. They make up what we are. I think as well, writers have been very good at this, in what, as I might say, incorporating the texture of place and time into their writing. Jane Austen's endurance, I think, and her regular recoveries of interest among reading publics is a good example. In Northanger Abbey, she has Catherine Morland say, history, real solemn history, I cannot be interested in. I read it a little as a duty, but it tells me nothing that does not either vex or weary me. The quarrels of popes and kings with wars or pestilences in every page. The men also good for nothing, and hardly any women at all. It's very tiresome. And Captain Morland, the point it is making there is that one can see the importance of the work of all the societies that are affiliated to the two umbrella organisations in, as it were, creating peopled history. It does leave open, as I've quoted Catherine Morland, she does a hint, I think, more than hint, that she might be interested in an alternative type of history, one that wasn't limited to the quarrels of great men, of kings, of popes, and wars and pestilences, but a history that indeed included the stories of women and children, a history that is made up of the story of all of our lives. And you don't, I think, have to go to Jane Austen for that. It's very, very strongly there in Patrick Kavanagh, and in the wonderful spirituality that Patrick Kavanagh constructs from the proximity of earth and soil and farming and light and loneliness. And he refers to it, that was the year of the, in his book on Epic, he writes, that was the year of the Munich bother, which was most important. I inclined to lose my faith in Ballyrush and Gorton, till Homer's ghost came whispering to my mind. He said, I made the Iliad from such a local row. Gods made their own importance. Such ideas of history are really at the heart of your projects. And Hidden Gems and Forgotten People, which you honour me by asking me to launch as a project, it's seeking the involvement of local societies and citizens in identifying, as the Chairman has just said, interesting but perhaps lesser known places and people. Places that might not make it into the tourist guidebooks, which sometimes protects them, and which have historical interest or significance locally. And then again as well, there is no one story about a particular event or a place, and local wisdom can be drawn not only to recover what might be the actual single version of something, but the competing versions, which is just important. I think when it comes to people as well, I often quote Paul Ricoeur's work that to be forgotten is to die twice. And there's some very important human achievements which are sometimes lost. And I think you're doing something which is very interesting as well, is in fact in recovering these gems in both urban and rural settings. There is a great prejudice in social sciences, and I taught urban sociology for a long time, but in which Josiah Strong said, God created man in a garden. The city is the result of the fall. And the idea is that everything in the city has been impatiently swept away, and that you should go to the country to recover the sense of the past. But of course there are beautiful pieces in urban settings, and even more importantly too, I think that the fruit of the work of extraordinary craftsmen and women and children and women are there in urban. So that's very, very important. I think I was very attracted to it when I was preparing for the panel you have on Sean Lester, because he's somebody that in a previous life, about 25 years ago, I gave a paper of myself. It's so important as he is, as the Secretary General of Ireland's representative to the League of Nations, and who in fact actually saved internationalism and the concept of people combining for peace and ending war. It's an extraordinary contribution, and he's a great, great internationalist and Irishman. He achieved the position of Secretary General of the League of Nations in the 1940s until the organisation was ended. And I think, of course, he was offered head of staff, I think, at the United Nations, and he refused. So, recovering Sean Lester and being able to encourage people to become familiar with the thinking of someone who said we must have a way of ending war, of avoiding war, is very, very important. I've referred already to Liddy's Field and the Killeen at Ballycar, which is a place where unbaptised children were buried. I think as well, it's very interesting, there's a panel that deals with the home of the last Governor-General Donald O'Bucla. And that in itself is not uncontroversial. He was supposed to be living where I am for the moment, in Ulster, but was persuaded to rent an alternative, and thought that he had in fact actually a term contract where he was moving into, only to find out that when he ceased to be Governor-General, he had to look after the remainder of the rent himself. But that's for another day. And those of you who want a good row at that can look it up. But look, really, being familiar with what surrounds one in terms of place, familiar in terms of the people who have gone before us, that which has been taken for granted in a way. And familiarity can sometimes serve as an obscuring veil on what is very important. But all those people who contributed significantly to their local area, and as I said in the case of Sean Lester, so important to the wider world, it's wonderful that they're being recalled. And then there's many districts who can lay claim to sportsmen, storytellers and other characters of note. And they are all very, very important. And as they are recalled, the community lives again. So the website that we're launching will, I hope, encourage many more to become involved and to take advantage of the opportunity to rescue forgotten personalities and hidden treasures from obscurity and enable them to be part of the national story. The panels over here, which I'm launching today, will, I hope, publicise widely your project, and I hope it will encourage others to come forward with their stories. When I was preparing the Littleton lecture on the 1913 lockout, I had read much and so forth, but a woman who works in Ulster and Maureen told me about her grandparents' stories from the tenements, and they were so rich and so important, as if you like deepening what we can come to know. I often think as well, and my final point is this, what a great project it was in its day, the Schools Folklore Commission and the Irish Folklore Commission, which I hope is given resources, because we are now in a very difficult position. Let's say in the 1930s, the Irish Folklore Commission, the children in the national schools were encouraged to go out and gather material on local history and monuments and folk tales and legends and riddles and proverbs and songs and customs and beliefs and games and pastimes and work practices and pieces of harness for animals, crafts and logananaka, place names. And they collected that from their parents and their grandparents, and it was recorded. It gathered over 500,000 pages of material, and it is one of the most marvellous collections in the world. I am concerned in a way that now that we are in a new age with new technology, which none of us seek to resile from, but we really should think about how are we going to make a record of our own.
Thank you very much indeed, President Higgins, for a wonderful and inspiring speech. We all, I know, speaking for everybody, really feel reinvigorated now about the importance of this project. So thank you so much. History, particularly local history, is, I think, a very important part of our culture, along with the arts, sports, literature, and so on. Pride of place and pride in the people of the past who belonged to that place engenders a sense of belonging and a sense of community. And I think it strengthens social cohesion, and you sort of adverted to that in your speech, President. In a society in which many people feel rootless and disconnected, I think this could be a very important trigger towards reconnection of many individuals. And our hope is that the project will contribute in some way towards community development at a local level, whether in rural areas or, as you mentioned, in urban areas. And we're going to promote it throughout Ireland in the years ahead, mainly through the local history societies, but also at a national level. One of the interesting things about the project, which you've also adverted to, is that it involves the coming together of the two history federations on the island in a joint endeavour, using a common website to record our memories of local history. And the interesting thing is that the website is not .ie, it's not .uk, but it's .eu, which I think is a very significant way of drawing the two parts together. I would like to thank the committees of the two federations, and in particular, as you mentioned, Larry Breen from our own federation, but also particularly Pat Devlin and John Hume from the Federation for Ulster Local Studies. They've worked over many years in making this project happen and ensuring that it continues on into the future. I'd also like to express my thanks to Sandra Collins, Director of the National Library, for making this beautiful venue available to us for the official launch. I'll now call on Johnny Dooher, Chairman of the Ulster Federation, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Richard. I join with Richard and the Federations in expressing our appreciation to the President for coming along and launching this particular project. The idea of the project came from joint meetings with the two Federation committees, and they have been going on for a long time now. And our idea was to allow the local historians from both parts of the country to come together and to develop a greater awareness, the rich tapestry of local studies, and promoting an appreciation of the countrywide diversity that we have. And we're talking about diversity and the richness that we have. We're concerned with the local, but we're also concerned to integrate the local with the national, and to bring an awareness of the total richness into our communities and our people. And our commitment to preserving our heritage comes to fruition in this particular programme of hidden gems and forgotten people. We cannot allow the past to be forgotten or unappreciated, and we see this as a means of highlighting the varieties of Irishness that will help us through this decade of centenaries and commemorations. And we can be confident that the project can bolster an appreciation of this diversity and tradition in a rapidly changing world, and it will show our support, and we should show our support for those who have initiated and driven this most worthwhile project, and spread the word, and that even more people and more societies take part. Thank you very much.
President Higgins, the two federations would now like to make a small presentation to you. It's a framed copy of a hidden gem as a memento of the occasion, and I'd like to call on Larry Breen to make that presentation. Larry is the person who he's already been mentioned as heavily involved in the whole project, and also in organising this particular event, and he'll explain the details of the hidden gem to you.
Everybody hear me okay, yeah? Yes. Make sure the northern accent is okay, you know. First of all, good morning, President Higgins, Sabrina Higgins, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very welcome. Like Dick says, Larry Breen's my name, and I've been asked to make this special presentation. When President Higgins kindly agreed to launch our project, we decided it would be nice to present the President with a memento of his visit. Now, what better than a hidden gem or a forgotten person? And we would pick one from our collection. But then we had second thoughts, and we said, well, maybe we could produce something special. Maybe we could get something in keeping with the theme of the Hidden Gems and Forgotten People project, but would have some meaning for President Higgins. So we thought, well, we'll try it. Now, we wanted to do that, and I'd just like briefly to thank Colin Liddy for all the research he did for us in this special presentation, and also to J.J. Woods, who put the thing together. So I forgot my little copy of the hidden gem. I'd like, with your permission, President, to read the text, because it's important that we share the story with you. I think it's a very interesting story, and I'd like to share it with you. In 19 home the lesson, but there were a few able to truly educate and inspire. One who could lift the words from the page, who taught their pupils to think, maybe I could. One such was Willie Clune, Principal of Ballycar National School, Newmarket on Fergus, County Clare. Now, Willie was born in 1889, the son of a carpenter. His 8 siblings, there was one Connor who was executed on Bloody Sunday during the War of Independence. Willie lived in the village of Quinn, County Clare, and cycled 8 miles daily to teach in Ballycar. His wife Catherine and they had 2 children, Monica and Fergus. He died in 1965 and is buried just outside the door of Quinn Abbey. Now, these are the dry facts of his life, but the living of it contained so much more. And I'd like to quote: "There was not one person who came into his schoolyard from any background with shoes or without, who wasn't respected. He was a man who loved the wonder of children. He knew the name of plants and bushes in Latin, Irish and English. On sunny days he would take the whole school to the top of the hill to show them the history of the local area. Master Clune had some extraordinary ideas. He delighted the children with his belief that if you tried hard enough and really used your concentration, you could go back through not only your own memory.
This is the text I've just read.
Right, you can hear me? And this is the montage of photographs here. And if you look at it closely, we've got a picture of Willie Clune here, one of the very few that are available. We have a copy of the signatures, his writing from the school rule book in Ballycar in Irish. And we have a picture of the back wheel of his bicycle. And then we have his most famous ex-pupil, the class of 1950, Ballycar National School, and this is President Michael D. Higgins winning the ball. So President, let's just
It couldn't be a more beautiful present, and I treasure it. And I think that it's such a thoughtful, wonderful memento to have, and I'm very, very grateful. I wrote about Master Willie Clune with great affection when I was giving interviews to John Quinn, but also on a number of occasions. And there is more to be said, because the people down in Ballycar claim that when he would go home and bring home a sick child on the bar of his bicycle, that I often took over tractors and filled in the road. But I'm refusing to authenticate all those stories in your market and purpose, which are growing by the day. I'm deeply, deeply grateful. It's a beautiful thing to have, and I will remember. They were off the good road.
Hold that, shop of messages, yeah.
Yeah,
That's lovely. Thank you.
That is the end of the formal part of the proceedings, and if you would like to have a cup of tea just in the room adjoining, please just feel free to mingle around and chat for a little while before the President has to go. Thank you.